Panthers take a 2-0 series lead over the Bolts in a really tight game, and the Panthers lose Aleksander Barkov in the third period and still find a way to win.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Friday, April 25th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. If you follow me on X at MondoMan12, follow the show account on X and Instagram at @LO_FLA Panthers, and on Blue Sky at LOFLA Panthers. You can follow the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase, and you can do that all on Game Time. So the Florida Panthers defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning by a final score of 2-0 at Amalie Arena to take a 2-0 series lead. And for the Panthers, they score in the first 5 minutes of the game, thanks to Nate Schmidt getting his third goal in the series, and then no goals the rest of the way. The Panthers kill off 5 power plays from the Tampa Bay Lightning and had to do it without Aleksander Barkov for the last 10 minutes of the game, but they were still able to just kill a lot of time, spend a good amount in the offensive zone as well. And even for the Panthers, the for me was shot blocking on their end of the ice. And here to break down more of this 2-0 win for the Florida Panthers over the Tampa Bay Lightning, he is from the Rod Pedersen Show, the South Florida Tribune, and the Cats and Bolts podcast. So a little bit of a Florida Panthers and a Tampa Bay Lightning takes on the show, and he is Rod Pedersen. Rod, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Good to see you, Mondo. Thanks for having me on, man. Who would have thought we'd be here 2 games in?
Yeah, no doubt. Especially, I mean, I was just thinking when it came to just this series, thinking, oh, the Panthers would just be happy with a split, not having home ice advantage, not having Aaron Ekblad in this part of the series right before shifting it home. And you think about for the Panthers here, I thought that the key for the Panthers in this win was just the inability to just not give up the second chance opportunities. And really, the Panthers in the beginning of this game, I thought they left the middle of the ice quite open quite a bit, and the Tampa Bay Lightning were flat out missing the net when they were centering the puck there. And really, the Panthers adjusted from there, the clearing of the net front, and really how the back pressure was whenever they did come through the neutral zone, that just had the Panthers just easily get back up, chip it up the boards if they needed to. That was my biggest takeaway for the Panthers there. How about you, Rod?
Well, I didn't expect that game 2 would be almost a carbon copy of game 1. You talked about the opening goal coming 5 minutes into the game, which was not a good goal to give up for Vasilevskiy. We all expected a different big cat tonight. And although we only allowed 1, plus the empty netter allowed against Sam Bennett, as far as the Lightning giving up the goal, it was a carbon copy from game 1 in a lot of ways. And not as many goals scored, of course, but the Panthers dominated in every zone as far as I'm concerned. I think the big story as they get set to come back to South Florida will be the status of Aleksander Barkov. And you said that you were down and listened to Paul Maurice. I won't scoop you. Tell the viewers. By the time they're watching this, they will have heard it by now. But why don't you tell the folks what you heard? Because that's, aside from a 2-0 Florida lead, that's the biggest story of this series now.
Yeah, so Aleksander Barkov did take an interference call from Brandon Hangel after the puck was separated, left his feet as well, and they ruled it as a 5-minute major. The Panthers didn't get a goal on that, but they wasted a lot of time, as that was a crucial part of the game where it was still a one goal lead for the Panthers at the time. So, that was. But when asked about it, Paul Maurice just said no, didn't say another word, didn't elaborate. So we'll have to wait to see if he will likely going to be evaluated. We don't want to speculate on what it is, but it's an upper body injury for him. Was slow to get up, and that's the scary moment. But for the Panthers here, it's crazy when you think about for how they were able to do this without Barkov. I mean, 3 shots against in the final period without Aleksander Barkov, and yes, a lot of it was because of the Panthers having those that 5-minute power play. And also there was a good amount of 4-on-4 times. There was more scrums than we saw in game 1. And I mean, Rod, also, if I'm looking at 2021, 2022 Panthers, when it comes to the Tampa Bay Lightning trying to provoke the Panthers here, they didn't fall for it. I've seen such maturity in this group of just not taking the bait.
It's a complete role reversal from back then. Obviously, it's like the 2 completely different teams. And I'll be honest, I don't know what the mood was like in the rink in game 2. You can tell me that maybe, but there's starting to get a little animosity between the fan bases. There clearly is on the ice amongst the players. We've got a series now, but I had some Lightning fans. I want to be friends with the Lightning fans. I really do. We do Lightning and Panthers on our podcast. And the Lightning fans said, if we lose tonight, game 2, it's over. And when you talk about they did it without Barkov, the penalty came with 10 minutes to go in the third period. Right, Hangel got out with 5 minutes to go. So they didn't really win this game without Aleksander Barkov. They finished it without Aleksander Barkov. Obviously, the question is, does he play Saturday? I think we should probably talk about the hit. I mean, you're in the press box. You saw all the replays that I did of it. It was a penalty. I don't think it was 5 minutes, or should have been 5 minutes. John Cooper had the referee over at the bench saying, why, how is that 5? If you read his lips. Yet on the flip side, the sense I'm getting from you is that Paul Maurice is upset that his captain's hurt and even has to answer a question about his status. Am I right on that?
Yeah, and I mean, right. And this is the thing. Paul Maurice usually has around like a 7 or 8 minute media availability. It was less than 5 minutes. So you could tell he was just not in the mood to talk when it came to even after a win. Usually he's giving a lot of praise, but he's giving a lot of praise to his team, but it's just it's not as much emotion from him, knowing that there's still probably testing going on. So maybe he doesn't even know the status of what's going on neither until they probably get into the bus. And the thing is, if it is a head injury, I mean, you're having to go on a plane, and that's tough. Going on a plane after you get dinged in that area. So that's going to be tough for, I'm going to assume that he's not going to take the ice tomorrow when they do return to practice, and we'll just have to wait until warm-ups in game 3.
Well, I think we've seen this over the last couple of years. I think the Panthers have the best medical staff in the National Hockey League. They're overly cautious. If there's anything here, he will have gone through concussion protocol already by now. So if there's anything there, he probably won't even necessarily come back with the team. I would have him stay in Tampa Bay for the night and see how he feels in the morning, but I think, listen, we're not doctors, but it sure looked like a head injury, didn't it? Not a hit to the head.
Yes.
But he turned and got blindsided, and it was like a whiplash kind of thing. And I've seen guys, I'm sure you look at Tua. You can get a concussion from a whiplash of your head. That's exactly what he had. I'm not saying he has it, but I don't think it was necessarily a really dirty hit either. Like I of course, I'm sitting there watching Twitter during the game. I'm sure you were too. And Cats fans and some pundits are asking for a suspension for this.
No, not that far.
I don't see that. But I also have no idea how the NHL mitigates these things. So I guess we'll wait and see.
Honestly, I think the fact that Hangel spent 5 minutes in the box, and even though there wasn't a 10-minute misconduct situation, I think that's enough of a consequence for him, knowing that the puck is not going to be on their end, and it's a big part of the game where you don't have your opportunities to put as much pressure on the goaltender, which Sergei Bobrovsky, what more can we say about him? 19 of 19 saves on the night for him. And also for the Panthers, what happened in this game? I mean, they were switching wingers on that second line from putting Jesper Boquist there, Evan Rodriguez at times, still easing in Matthew Tkachuk coming back from the injury as well. So that was another thing that wasn't really talked about post game, and it's just something I really thought about up here. I just thought that how Paul Maurice managed those things when it's just his second game back, I thought that was very smart coaching on his part.
Well, we've got the two best coaches in the National Hockey League in this series, so just
no doubt.
Sit back and enjoy with the mixing and matching of what they do. It's funny people talk so much about Tkachuk, but literally if you listen to what he's saying, was it this morning or yesterday? He goes, "I feel great." And he's playing like it. He doesn't look like he's lollygagging out there or he's out of shape or anything, right? He looks like he's in peak physical condition. It's funny, they started the game with Sam Bennett and Marchand, but at some point in the game, it was Evan Rodriguez with Bennett and Marchand. And I'm texting with a buddy. I'm like, why don't they just throw Tkachuk out with those two? Just do it. We all want to see it. But again, we can't sit here and nitpick anything of what Paul Maurice has done with his lines, with his team up 2-0, a shutout here tonight. It's been a master class of coaching. And you mentioned, Bob, we're going to get to the 3 stars here coming up because you prepped me for that. But Paul Maurice said in game 1, Bob kept them in it until they got into it, right? Because, he felt that the Lightning came out pretty. Tonight, same thing. When the Lightning tried to, not start something necessarily, but when they tried to generate something, Bob was there to slam the door. It was, as they say, a low event game. There weren't a lot of shots, but I think Bob's good in any kind of game. So did he win the game for him? Probably not, but he didn't lose it. And this is 2 straight nights that Vasilevskiy's given up bad goals.
Yeah, no screen on that Nate Schmidt goal neither on the far side. So an odd one for him, and it ended up being the GWG. Think about that at 4:15 of the first period. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we'll, like Rod said, 3 stars of the game, and we're going to discuss the moment where we knew the game was won. We'll discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. And did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included. And if you're ready to play, dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football to 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6E, and low latency mode advanced technology, Fire Stick TV delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive. Play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Already have a console? A Fire Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take you or your kids' games wherever you plug in. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and capable controller required. Available at select devices, including Fire Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Segment 2 here on this Friday, April 25th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Here with Rod Pedersen of the Cats and Bolts podcast and the Rod Pedersen Show, sitting in for Nick Fairbanks here on this Friday. And once again, shout out to the Cats and Bolts podcast for bringing in Nick Fairbanks on more than one occasion there, and for some show promotion here for the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. So, like I said, thank you in private, Rod, but I also want to say thank you publicly for that as well.
Thank you, man. And as you've seen, I like to bring my guests in studio. So the next time you're home, you have a spot. If it's a Wednesday, you got a spot in our studio with Cats and Bolts. That's so I don't do Zoom interviews, obviously video interviews. I want everybody inside, and Nick has been very gracious to come on. He does a great job. As I said, he's made the team. He knows what he's talking about, just like you. So it's nice to return the favor. And I will tell you this, we all work together to grow hockey in Florida. I think we would all agree on that.
And for those who are listening, and Rod is coming from a Canadian perspective, moving down here. So he coming from Canada, wanting to grow it down here. You're doing an absolute service, my friend here. So you and Serena there. But let's get to our 3 stars of the game for this one. Number 3 star. I'm gonna go a little. Usually you do player specific, but I do want to go the 3rd star. I do want to go to the coaching of Paul Maurice here. Like we mentioned earlier, the revolving door of wingers on that second line still. And there's the thing, the end of the regular season, the fact that Sam Bennett has had familiarity with Evan Rodriguez, how well he moves up and down. Jesper Boquist at times, especially in November, was part of that second line, and just getting the speed, getting the pucks in deep, and doing what they need to do. I thought that was just smart coaching from them. Number 2 star is going to be Nate Schmidt. Got that first goal at 4:15 of the first period, and 3 goals in the last 2 games for him. And then number 1 star is Sergei Bobrovsky. Like we mentioned, wasn't necessarily didn't carry the Panthers. I mean, you think about for the Panthers here, just over 20 shots. I mean, this is like, you think about this in baseball comparison. This is like your pitcher's duel. This is the kind of, if you like the fundamentals of hockey, forcing to the outside, right on the blue line, and a whole bunch of disruption, just getting into the weeds, into the trenches. This was your type of hockey game for those hockey nuts. Your 3 stars of the game.
If you like a defensive game, for sure it was. And before I get to mine, I went and looked at the score app. I think it was the 3 stars named in the building. You would see this on the NHL app too. So This is what they said.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't agree. Number 3, Nate Schmidt. Number 2, Aleksander Vasilevskiy. And number 1, Sergei Bobrovsky. So I'm okay with 2 of those.
Yeah.
But Vasilevskiy, I told you, let in a bad goal. I was a goalie for a long time. I understand that goal under the blocker, low stick side on the blocker, is the toughest shot to stop, but not when it's not screened and from the blue line. That's an inexcusable goal for Vasilevskiy to give up. So how do you give him the 2nd star? I'm sorry, Mondo. I was called by the Lightning fans a homer. I don't care. It's a Panthers sweep of the 3 stars. And I don't, you can sit there and say, oh, you just looked at the score sheet to come up with your 3 stars, but that's okay. Number 3 star is Sam Bennett, obviously scoring the empty netter, but he had very physical. As always, he was a pain in the ass to play against for the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. Number 2, Nate Schmidt, who you wouldn't have heard, but Kenny Albert said on the broadcast, Nate Schmidt has more goals than the Tampa Bay Lightning in this series. And number 1, Sergei Bobrovsky. I'm with you on Bob. You throw up the shutty again. It just looks like regular season, Bob. It's almost, promise me, Mondo, that we will never take for granted the play of Sergei Bobrovsky, because he gives them a chance to win every single night. It's like John Cooper's never been even a finalist for Coach of the Year, and he's the best coach in the NHL because people just taken for granted how great he is. And it's the same thing with Bob, and I don't want to allow that to happen.
Yeah, we need a version of the Jack Adams Award that is, oh, you were expected to be here, but so that's what the Jack Adams is, oh, you didn't expect your team to be here and you got them over a certain hump so
I hate that.
Yeah. It's just like the Lady Bing. It's a lazy way of voting where people just say, oh, most points, the least amount of penalty minutes. Oh, you're the Lady Bing winner this year. So
pretty easy to get that one. I'm not even sure that you would be proud of winning that. We've never really understood that.
Yeah. Panthers having 2 of them, Brian Campbell and then Aleksander Barkov as one of them. But great selection with Sam Bennett. Didn't get to ask him a question on just how it's been for him to get through the game like this with the revolving door. 4 shots on goal, 2 blocks, 2 hits on the night. For him, 50% in the dot. So the Panthers were winning those key draws, and honestly, just the thing is, for this one, there was really no odd man rushes for this one. It was just no irresponsible pinches from the blue liners neither. So you look at the modes for regular season and playoffs, you don't see risks being taken. I mean, I know I picked on Seth Jones a bit towards the end of the regular season, Uvis Balinskis at times, but I mean, when you know that one game, we could pinpoint so many things in one game. I mean, you don't, the risk profile, which is a word that Paul Maurice likes to use a lot. The risk profile is pretty low for the Panthers blue liners. And to think without Aaron Ekblad until game 3 on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, you talk about all those things from a Panthers perspective. This is one thing that Serena and I noticed watching the game tonight was how much you saw Victor Hedman in the offensive zone. The Lightning changed some things up too. Sort of like they gave the Heddy the green light to go do whatever you need to do offensively or wreak havoc in the offensive zone, and he really didn't. So I don't know if the Panthers adjusted on the fly to find a way to shut him down or what. What it tells me, Mondo, is that no matter what the Lightning are trying, it's not working. And I just wonder how or if this series changes when it comes back to Sunrise.
Yeah, and I thought the Panthers were really great at selective pressure, especially knowing when JJ Moser was at the blue line, Victor Hedman's defense partner, of getting the stick right there, protecting the middle of the ice on those centering feeds, keeping their eyes on Kucherov the whole time. So that was another thing that the Panthers did a great job with. So the moment where we knew the game was won, it's crazy because when they did not score on that 5-minute power play, I'm like, oh no, this could be the turning point for the Panthers in a bad way for the Panthers. But Sergei Bobrovsky made an outstanding stop on Braden Point right before the Panthers scored on that empty net. So that's my moment. How about yours?
I didn't think it was one until Bennett scored into the empty net for 2 reasons. Number one, I never do. I don't take anything for granted. I don't turn my back on anybody. And number 2, especially these Tampa Bay Lightning, I'm still wondering when they're going to show up. This is a team that, Mondo, I tweeted it. You might have seen it. They led the NHL in goals scored this year in the regular season. They've got 2 in the playoffs. If there's any more indication that the playoffs are a brand new season, that's it. But I am not turning my back on these guys. And I guarantee you the Panthers won't either. So I did not think this game was won until Bennett rifled it into the empty net. And he had come close moments before that and didn't. So I'm like, oh, boy, they got a minute to come back down and maybe tie this thing up, right, if you remember. And they didn't. So not until he made it 2-0. That's when I knew that it was over.
Yeah. And right before the Sam Bennett got that empty net, right before the save, Matthew Tkachuk, a big block on Victor Hedman as well. So that was, I thought that was also very key. Just coming back from that, only played 13 minutes and still was able to just lay the body out because it's the cup. That it's just, these guys are just wired differently when it comes to this time of year. But actually, let's continue the conversation of just about the Tampa Bay Lightning, as the Panthers won't they won't relax just because they're going to be taking a 2-0 series lead into Sunrise. So let's continue the conversation on the other side of this break. Keep it right here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. And the Stanley Cup playoffs are here. And if you've never been to a live NHL playoff game, it's unlike anything else. The intensity, the speed, the energy in the building, the next level. Thanks to Game Time, getting indoor is easier and more affordable than ever. Game Time is the fastest way to grab playoff tickets, even those must-see matchups. Prices usually actually drop as the puck drop gets closer. And with last-minute deals, you can save up to 60%. Save up to 60%. Last minute for sports, concert, comedy, theater, and more. Their all-in pricing shows the total cost up front, no surprise fees at checkout. The app even knows your panoramic seat views, so you know exactly what you're getting before you buy. And with Game Time ticket coverage, I know I'm protected, whether it's cancellation, job loss, assurance, or their 24-hour return guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Segment 3 here on this Friday, April 25th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Friday, here with Rod Pedersen of the Rod Pedersen Show and one half of the Cats and Bolts podcast here. And I want to ask you, one thing we also saw in this one was a lot of coincidental minors. We had exactly 3 of them on the evening. Anthony Cirelli with him on a roughing with Brad Marchand, which we didn't even mention Anthony Cirelli being back in the lineup after missing practice. Took the morning skate for him after a boarding call from Carter Hagee at the end of the second period. Tkachuk and Cirelli there, and then in between, like the 5-minute major, Lundell and Point. So it just goes to show. It just goes to show what happens when you play each other so many times. And I mean, the Panthers have also been down 2-0 against the Tampa Bay Lightning, losing both home games back in 2021 and 2022. So I wonder, Rod, if the Panthers are thinking about those moments, just about, you know, I know they've graduated from a certain point of, like, they've matured. That's the better word. But I just wonder how much they are going to use their past experiences, even in defeat, to just carry this over. And just when it comes to returning back home, just knowing that it's not over.
Well, I don't think I'm going to bet against them the rest of the way, not in this series anyways. And just today, I found a rally towel in my house. I was cleaning some stuff up from last year. In 2024, the white rally towel at American Bank Arena that said redemption. This was last year. And so you could see when they came out in every game last year, it was about redemption. This year, it still seems to be redemption. You know what I mean? They still leave even more pissed off than they did last year at this time. They're not letting off the gas at all. I will fully admit, Mondo, that I did not expect them to even win game 1, let alone 2 in Tampa Bay. I thought they hadn't played together in a full lineup for over 2 months. Tkachuk had been out for 2 months. And Paul Maurice basically admitted, right, that they were resting guys. To come out the way that they did and then duplicate it tonight, they never gave Tampa a chance at all. Why would we think they'll take their foot off their gas coming home on Saturday? I don't think they will.
No, and I'm excited to see how the crowd is going to be as well. And also, maybe I'm looking this as like a hindsight is 2020, but the Lightning played a good amount of players in their game 82 in New York. They didn't really have the opportunity like the Panthers had with LTIR space and the fact that you could bring more than 23 on the roster post trade deadline as long as you're cap compliant. I mean, it's surely gone to the benefit of the Panthers. I mean, I know we mentioned no Oliver Bjorkstrand in the series. Mitchell Chaffee just played in his first game ever since the game 81 for Tampa Bay when he got concussed by Jesse Puljujärvi, which Jesse Puljujärvi is still has been recalled by the team to serve as suspension right before the Checkers play in their Calder Cup playoff games. But I think just the fact that rest and once again the calculation that Paul Maurice did towards the end of the regular season, I hadn't put it in these kind of words, Rod. He was playing chess, not checkers.
I'm sure it was very hard for him to bite his lip when they were losing games. He was being criticized for the lineup that he was icing. And then there was some donkeys in the Canadian media, which it wasn't mainstream media. It was not mainstream media that were saying that that they were deliberately tanking it to get a better playoff opponent. You probably saw that stuff. And I'm like, I don't even want to dignify this with an answer other than I feel the responsibility to defend the Panthers because they're not going to say anything about it. All those things, even if they were tanking it, who cares? Because you knew what he was doing, setting up for right here for the team that you've seen the last 2 games.
Yeah. And once that puck drops, nobody's thinking in the back of their head, oh, I'm the 3 seed. Oh, the Panthers got the 3rd most points in franchise history. You're just thinking about that shift one at a time. And I want to go to a quote that Seth Jones even said after the game on just the fact that their play just travels so well. And the fact that whenever even though these 2 games for the Panthers and Lightning, it wasn't the shot attempts were in the favor of the Lightning. It was more the Panthers just not giving them easy lanes. But the fact that the Panthers are able to get clean changes, and I didn't even mention this part for the Lightning. Another thing that the Panthers did well was the fact that they denied the stretch passes. And there was a lot of times where I never seen the Lightning also ice the puck so much. Neither the Schmidt goal was often icing. I didn't even mention that, but that's another thing that the Panthers are just able to just get their matchups even when they're not getting the last change. Neither.
Everything's going their way at this point in the series. However, we've seen enough playoff series over the years that it can change on a dime.
Yes.
Right. So I'm not calling this a sweep. I'm not predicting anything other than a great game on Saturday. I just last year when the Lightning went out in 5, the last series that Steven Stamkos would even ever play for Tampa Bay, you knew change was coming, and it did. I thought this would be a different Tampa team in these playoffs, and right now they look the same or worse than they did last year.
Yeah, only one power play goal. They're 1 of 8 on the
there you go
man advantage. And Steven Stamkos, if I don't remember this on the top of my head, I think he had 4 power play goals during those 5 games. And hey, that was at least kept them in some of those games, even though the Panthers did win that game 5 by a final score of 6-2. So Rod, I think when you think about the fact that, once again, you're having Seth Jones play on that top pair. Now he doesn't have to log as many of the minutes. He could go back with Nico Mikkola because Aaron Ekblad is going to be back in the lineup as his suspension is officially over after tonight. I'm interested to see. I'm sure that the local media is going to be asking for him after practice, saying, okay, what's it like to be back? What kind of lessons he's learned, even though he's already spoken to the media since his suspension. But I can't expect him to not go back on the top line, on the top pair.
No, why wouldn't you?
Panther. Yeah. So that's so the fact that you have all those things going, and even if you have to scratch an Uvis Balinskis now, I mean, you think of guys who aren't losing the game for the Panthers, and we hadn't had those. And even though the Panthers haven't switched up the forwards, neither. Everybody is just doing their part, and that's the thing. Working as a unit, that's something that Randy Moeller, actually, funny enough, that's something that he likes to say over and over again on the broadcast. Working as a unit, and it's just
you have to
go strong.
Yeah, this is my last point because I'm going to go, but it's going to be a raucous atmosphere Saturday. They love Aaron Ekblad, as you know, in that place. People have talked about his number 5 being the next jersey to go in the rafters, and it probably will be. So I expect him to be quarterback in the power play. I expect him to be on the number 1 pair. He's had been having a great year as it was. He's going to be fired up and ready to go, eager to atone for a suspension that I think he felt very bad about. Right. So these are good problems. When you talk about the lineup, it's a good problem to have. Who comes out? Because Aaron Ekblad comes in. Their special teams have been outstanding. Everything's rolling. We just hope that it continues.
Absolutely. And the fact that the Panthers have a whole 4th line that they implemented all season, and it's a scratch for the playoffs, just that whole new 4th line, even further forward. So, but Rod, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Tell everybody where they can follow you and your work online, my friend.
Just the name on the screen right there, at Rod Pedersen. You'll find everything from there. The daily TV show, the Cats and Bolts podcast, South Florida Tribune column, all the coverage. There's a lot there to dig through. So, Mondo, thanks for having me, my man. Looking forward to seeing you again in person.
Absolutely. I'll hopefully see you when the series shifts to Sunrise. So thank you once again, my friend. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone, and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Rod Pedersen, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.